Aloha. Thank you so much, Cynthia. A lot of people do know me, but don't know a lot about me. So I thought I'd say a little bit about my family, and then I wanted to talk about a couple of mentors and a couple of mentees that actually were foundational for my very long career and some of the fights that I pick. So I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. I was born in the Philippines during World War II. Some people ask me which war. But I was born during the war, and my father named me Amefil, America Filipino. I didn't know at the time I was going to become a Philam. My father was one of the first to join the Philippine Foreign Service as a diplomat for the newly formed independent nation, the Philippines. And he was assigned to Australia. And I used to really talk like I had potatoes in my mouth. Everyone thought I was an Australian if you pick up the phone. So my first 9 years of schooling was in Australia. The only other non-white person in the school was my sister, who's sitting here. Then my father was a diplomat, and one of the next country he was assigned to was Thailand. And so I graduated from Bangkok International School, and as you know, it's so important here. People ask where you went to high school. No one ever gets it. And then going on to my education, my father wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll try law. So I did an undergraduate degree in political science at the University of the Philippines, which is a very, very good university, public university. And then I was going to apply to the law school, register at the law school, but the line was very, very long. So I went across the street and went to graduate school in political science. And there I met Bob Stouffer, who, for some strange reason, was a visiting scholar, visiting professor from the University of Hawaii. And he was looking for student researchers, and everyone said, pick Amy, she's really good. And so I got interviewed, and he offered me one of the research assistant's job, and I said, I don't want the job. I'd like to volunteer because then I can come whenever I want to. And also, really the money wasn't enough for my coffee, but he wouldn't let me participate unless I was paid. So I did get paid. And then he told me about the University of Hawaii and the East-West Center, and that's how I got to Hawaii 60 years ago. I actually do remember the day I got there, and somebody picked me up at the airport, and he had he was a long-haired haole hippie with cut-off shorts. I'm going, ooh. And then, but he gave us a ride, my friend and I, and we had luggage then that was, I think the requirement was only 1 suitcase per passenger, so you tried to get the largest suitcase you possibly could. And he was kind enough to drop us off at the East-West Center and left us on the sidewalk, and we couldn't figure out how to get up the stairs. But the East-West Center was a really transformative experience for me. I've had lifelong friends from there, a couple are here. And and I was able to get a degree in political science. My mentor at the time, Bob Stouffer, allowed me to do my research about the Philippines, and then the East West Center thought that they should cut my grant from 24 months to 18 so that I could, since I was doing so well, and he just said, why don't you just change her status from master's to PhD. I think everyone thinks I'm extremely ambitious, but really it wasn't my idea. Anyhow, I did research on, I wanted to do research on Filipino student protest behavior in the Philippines, and the East West Center refused to allow me to go. They rejected my proposal because they thought I would be in jail if I went to the Philippines, and they are actually quite right. I would have been in jail because most of my friends were. So I couldn't do my research on student protest behavior in the Philippines, so I decided to look at what student protest behavior there was that was real and critical at the time. And so my dissertation was on the Black student protest behavior in the South. I had never been to the South. I think I met a Black person once, and I didn't know anything about the history of the Blacks in America. So I did a dissertation. It was very quantitative. I multiplied everything by the size of my shoe and divided by my height and did a multiple regression and factor analysis. It was very well done. But my dissertation committee was actually experts in other things like Asian studies. And actually, one person said, thank you very much for your first chapter, Amy. I said, no, that was the whole thing. But what that dissertation did was it really set me up for my career and my work and advocacy for civil rights over the years, particularly for various groups, but definitely the civil rights movement, the Black civil rights movement really was something that influenced my career. And one of the things that I am known for is that I helped establish the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission and was appointed as the first governor by. So the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission enforces the civil rights laws for the state of Hawaii. So that was my dissertation. And then after that, my first real job was with a program called Operation Manong. And there I also had mentors, and I was also I was a mentor, and I had a lot of mentees. What happened was that a group of us in 1972 who were Filipino noticed that a lot of Filipino immigrant kids who had just arrived because of the amendment of the 1965 immigration law allowed Filipinos and other actually non-European countries to migrate to the United States based on family reunification and the U.S. Employment needs. So what this did for Filipinos in Hawaii was it allowed them, for the first time, to bring in their families and relatives. And so from the 15 single males that came in 1906 to Hawaii to work on the plantations. Because of the immigration, Filipinos are the largest immigrant group since then, and most people don't know this, but they are the second largest group in the state of Hawaii. I tell everyone, every fourth person you bump into has Filipino ancestry. That's when they think that I can influence votes, even if I can't. So in 1972, a group of us said, let's do something. You know, they're getting beaten up, bullied. They don't understand what's going on in the classroom. We have to do something. And so a group of students, faculty, mostly Filipino, said, let's go and tutor them. And that's what we did. We were volunteers, and then we got a gigantic federal grant. We didn't have the credentials, but our friends allowed us, professors at the university applied, but we actually were the worker bees that wrote it and got it funded with my other co-founders, Sheila Foreman and Melinda Kirkfleet, and also many of the students. And that allowed us to have tutors who were paid to work in the public schools. So the tutors were called Manongs and Manangs, meaning older brother and older sister. And they were like mentors to the children in the public schools. We got criticized by the Filipino community, so was saying, why do you use the word Manong? And, because at that time, Manong was used in a derogatory way among the kids and in the community. So they said all those Manongs, those single plantation males hanging out in the Ala Park, was a put down. And we said, no, we have to use it in the proper way, which is a very respectful term for older brother, Manong, and older sister, Manong. It should really have been called Operation Manang, not Manong, since most of us, the leaders at the time were women. And we all had, by the way, Howley last names. It was very confusing. And we all looked alike, by the way. We had long black hair, and even the students couldn't tell us apart. One would start talking to me in the morning, and later on would be trying to continue the conversation with my colleague. And I said, no, it's the other one. But anyhow, we had no clue what we were doing, but we did it. And one of the things we did was to really make sure that everyone understood, including the community and the university, that we belonged, that we had something to do, and that they had to help. DOE was trying its very, very best to help. They'd come up with these brilliant reports saying, well, these immigrants don't speak English. These immigrants keep fighting with the local kids, and these immigrants don't know the curriculum of the system. We said, no, it's not that the immigrants don't speak English. You do not understand the language that they speak or appreciate it. It's not that the immigrants are fighting the local kids, it's that the local kids are also fighting the immigrant kids. And it's not that they don't understand the curriculum, but you're not trying to adapt the curriculum to the needs of these community, new members of our community. So there were lots of times when the superintendent of public schools, we would sue them all the time, but he wouldn't talk to me. But later on, we finally got state funding with support from the legislature, and we got state funding. We're part of the university budget, but every year or every 2 years, ethnic studies, women's studies, Operation Manong, oral history program, they would, instead of having because UH was being given a 1% budget cut, they decided to cut our programs 100%. I said, duh, why don't you cut physics? Anyhow, clearly, we were able to turn that around, and over the years, we still have to keep fighting for our budgets. And the budget, by the way, is really a moral document. It represents your values and your priorities. And we were always excluded for a while. So it was not always easy. They didn't know what office to put us in. You know, was it a vegetable? Operation Manong should be trop ag? No. Finally, we got into student affairs, and it has, and with a lot of support from a lot of good people, Operation Manong continues. It's evolved to the Office of Multicultural Student Services, and then it's part of a program that I just retired from. I keep telling her I retired last year, but actually I retired 6 years ago. And the program that I retired from is called Student Equity, Excellence, and Diversity. And I say you can't have one without the other. And so that programs is at Manoa, and we also have a system-wide type of program called Pamantasan, meaning higher education. And when no one was looking, we got 3 positions for it last year. One is in Maui, and the other one is at Leeward. The numbers of Filipino students on these campuses is like the second largest all the time. There's not one language, Philippine language taught, not one tenured faculty. I go, you know, look at the numbers. You know, there's a need here. So we got it last session. So one of the things that I really appreciated with Operation Manong and other areas is that these people continue to consider me their mentor, their manang. I see them periodically. And I could have retired 30 years ago because I was the mentor for Amy Tumingbang, who was one of our first students, and many, many others who have make great contributions to our community as business people, elected officials. I'm sure there are some criminals too, but I only picked the ones who have been, who continue to make a big contribution to the state of Hawaii. I want to talk about also, and close by talking about my new mentees. I just had a gigantic Filipino dinner with them last week in Lahaina. The new group that I'm mentoring is called Kaibigan ng Lahaina, meaning Friends of Lahaina, the newest nonprofit Filipino-led group in Lahaina. Lahaina is 40% Filipino, and they really have suffered a great deal. And so this is a group that just got funded by the Hawaii Community Foundation, and we look forward to their support, and I think they will do a great job. I will close by telling you about what you can do. I got my ballots today in the mail. Some of you will get it in the next few days. Please vote yes on the constitutional question number 1. It asks for really equality for our LGBT community, and it really is over. I think people think that they're already protected, but they are not protected until we have this constitutional amendment. So please vote yes. And secondly, tomorrow I'm joining my friends in Local 5, the Hotel Workers Union. I think this is their 20th day of their strike. The majority of the workers in Local 5 happen to be immigrant Filipinos, and they do need our support. It's the #1 industry, just like they were the number one industry in the plantation. This is basically kind of the continuation of that. So I just wanted to elevate their struggle. So thank you.